one of the reasons chefs have become better is through hope rather than fear. You can get better work out of people if you have a good attitude. We did it for £30,000.
Huh?
You know, we went to the reject shop furniture and we bought the broiler chairs. Rose went up to the north of England and bought a second-hand grill. And there was always the excellence of what the design would be, but it was very modest.
Welcome to Why Are You More Successful Than Me? Today it's Ruthie Rogers, the founder of the River Cafe. And I have a particular passion for people who run restaurants. And I think in Britain, there's a handful of people who are just very, very good at it. We have an episode with Jeremy King. And I think both of these episodes, Jeremy King, who invented the Ivy and the Woolsey, and Ruthie, if you're interested in that world, which I am, or you're interested in getting into it, or like I quite like my son to go into hospitality, I think they're good stories of how to found these restaurants and how to make them sustain. And then they're a slice of life, aren't they, as well? I mean, Mark, you produce this podcast. The River Cafe is nearly 40, isn't it? It's a story of Britain and celebrity and showbiz and food over the last 40 years.
It's also one of those rare businesses that you, as a layman, can enter.
Yeah.
You've got to save up, but you can enter and you can see what it's like.
She's done, so she's got her book, which we'll talk about, Table 4 at the River Cafe, which is a collection of her own interviews. She's done over 200 episodes of her podcast, Ruthie's Table 4, meaning a table for someone, although Table 4 was also Michael Caine's favourite restaurant. And she's so revered in this world. And all my friends who are restaurateurs in America all talk about Ruthie Rogers. Her husband was the architect Richard Rogers, designer of Terminal 5. Her business partner, Rose Gray, died in 2010 and she had to keep the business going after that. But her food's just the best. They change the menu every single day when you go in there.
And honestly, listening to her is the most calming experience a human being can have.
Yeah, when she talks about food, it's like listening to classical music. So here is Ruthie Rogers. Ruth Rogers.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Delighted, excited to have you here.
So great to be here.
This podcast.
Nice to be on this side of the table.
Yeah.
There's no table, but nice to be on this
There's
side.
a little table.
A little table.
But your podcast is Ruthie's Table 4, and you've had really exceptional guests. This podcast is called Why Are You More Successful Than Me?
I think that's very funny. That's a great title.
Thanks.
That's a great title.
What's the answer?
I don't think I am. So I think we're. I don't know anything about you, but I think success. How do you measure success?
Exactly.
And what is success? And what is that a driving force in our lives?
And I think that is really what it's really about. It's a slightly provocative title, but what is a measure of success for a person? You've got. You've had the River Cafe now for 39 years, so you're about to turn 40 as a restaurant.
2027.
That's pretty. A round of applause for Martina. That is. I mean, I think so. The last guest I had in here, because a particular passion of mine is restaurants, and lots of my close friends are restaurateurs or restaurateurs. I always get that wrong. Yeah. Jeremy King was the last guest in here.
Jeremy. Yeah.
I'm friends with Nick Jones and Andre Valache and all sorts of. And I'm very, very, very interested in the business. So many restaurants go bust within a couple of years, don't they? Something like half of them. And yet here you are with an institution that's about to turn 40 that is still relevant, that stays fresh, that still feels new every time you go there. That is a really hard thing to achieve, isn't it, in that game?
Someone in the very early days, someone called me up and said, Ruthie, journalist, can you please tell me why the River Cafe is a success? And being an American, I said, I've lived in this country long enough to know that if you want to know why I'm a success, ask somebody else. Because if I was in New York, I'd say, come on over. How much time do you have? Yeah. I will tell you about why I'm a success. So I am. You
mean a New Yorker would do that?
Probably, maybe, or an American. There's just, and I love the British reticence of that. And I think, well, both are fine. Both are good. But I think for me, it's always more comfortable if somebody else says why we're a success. Because, again, we were just saying a success of value that you want to be. You want to be honest, you want to be kind, you want to be empathetic, and you want to be successful. I'm not sure. But do you want to be ambitious? I think we are. I always like the word ambition more than perhaps successful. But we don't want to get too much into words.
let's-
But I think, yeah.
But let's talk about ambition a second, because there's so much that strikes me that's interesting about the River Cafe. It's not just the length of time, how relevant it is. There is only one, and everyone else I know in your game did lots, opened others, either franchise or did lots of different. Jeremy King has done the Ivy, the Wolsey and the Delaunay and Soutine. You've chosen to do one. So I guess, and it's always full, isn't it? It's a hit restaurant, whichever way you look at it. So what is ambition? What is success in a restaurant that you're not expanding, if that's a fair question?
Well, there are a couple of answers to that. I often say a story that about a year ago, Wolfgang Puck.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've had him.
He had Spargo, didn't he,
an
in
old
LA?
friend of mine, Spargo, and he has a cut here. And he came in and I said, Wolfgang, I want to be like you and have 45 restaurants. And he said, Ruthie, I want to be like you and have one.
Brilliant.
Yeah, but he could have one.
Yeah.
He could have made that decision, and he did do 45. But I understand both. And the Harvard Business School came and did a case study. Do you know about Harvard? They teach by doing case studies. So they sent over 3 students. They spent 2 weeks in the kitchen with our customers, with my husband, who's an architect, with the people who worked there. And then they set a problem. And the problem was, the case study was, here's a restaurant that's been, this is probably 10 years ago probably, who's been, been around for 25, 30 years.
By then,
It has staff that stay. It has clients, customers, whoever, guests who come back over and over. How do they grow? And they gave four possibilities. One is we do another River Cafe. 2 was that we do a kind of franchise cheaper river cafes. 3 was that we do what we do, which is our books, our olive oil. We have a shop. We have brand. We increase the brand through that. And what do you think the 4th option was?
Don't know. It feels like a real puzzle I can't solve.
Okay, I'll tell you.
Go on.
Nothing. And so
how do you grow by doing nothing?
Harvard Business School runs on it's kind of like it's like an arena. So all the students who are really, they've all had graduate degrees. Some of them have worked. To get to Harvard Business School was a big deal, and they the students then completely got engaged. And so I found out later they grade you by your participation. So, one was saying, oh, no, Ruthie, she can't open a franchise. She'll have to use cheaper ingredients. How can they possibly, with the ingredients they use, have cheaper ingredients? The second one was on the branding. Yeah. If she opened another River Cafe somewhere, how would they do that? Would people go to the River Cafe in Hammersmith if there was one?
Well, I see. It would dilute the original.
Would it dilute the original? Where would Ruthie be? Where would the head chefs be? So that one. And then they said, well, do the cookbooks, do the olive oil, do the shop, that kind of thing. And then they kind of voted for, she has a restaurant that is of excellence. She's there. The chefs are there. Let them do offsites. Let them do, whatever. And they kind of came to that conclusion. And the professor came out and said, wait a minute. This is Harvard Business School. We grow. We're entrepreneurs. Why are you saying this? And so the discussion really was, how do you grow and not replicate yourself, especially if you're a restaurant? And so we have opened a River Cafe.
Yeah.
And, we called it the River Cafe,
which is
because
funny.
Somebody said to me, what are we going to call the River Cafe? Well, let's call it the River Cafe. And the fact is that now it is more of a restaurant, We do use the same ingredients. So you will get the same mozzarella, which comes from Naples. You'll have the same cicoria, which is grown in Milan. You'll have the same pasta sauces. I mean, you won't have a pasta sauce with langoustine. The average spend is about £32 a head, but we give smaller plates. People put their own plates together. So instead of having a mozzarella that you would have at the River Cafe that we choose what to put in, you do. So it's really working well, that is. And so...
What an interesting answer. Essentially, you grow... Do they mean you grow by doing nothing? Because by not doing more River Cafes, the brand value of the original will just keep going up. It remains exclusive.
I think you can be a John George, you can be a Jeremy King, you can be a Wolfgang and do really excellent, more restaurants. You don't necessarily have. There are some brands we know that the more they open, the worse they are. But I would say also that we've really looked into. I've never said no to looking at a site. I've never said no to having somebody come and talk to me about putting.
How close have you come to doing a second?
Okay, so
cafe?
I wouldn't go to. I wouldn't go to Las Vegas, and I say I wouldn't, but I doubtful I'd go to Las Vegas or to Dubai or to, well, particularly now I wouldn't go to Dubai.
No.
But I think that we could open another one.
How close have you come to doing it?
Very close this summer. Did you not know that? I was an inch away from signing a paper.
Was that the Chancery Rosewood one?
Yeah.
I heard about that because I'm a nerd for the restaurant scene.
Yeah.
I'd heard that you were doing and you weren't going to call it River Cafe, I don't think, right?
No, we were going to we hadn't actually got to the name. But what drew me to that, and that's why I go see every site that somebody says open one, is that it was in a building by Saarinen, who was one of the great architects of the American
the old US
mid-century.
Embassy.
Yeah, it's the old U.S. Embassy, which had become a kind of fortress. And so the Qataris bought it, and David Chipperfield brilliantly brought it back to the standard it was when it was built in the late 60s. It was in the most beautiful square, Grosvenor Square, just above the trees. It was like buying a site, it was this beautiful, vast room. And we had, people who believed in us, investors. So, nobody did anything wrong. And we came quite close because it was such an exciting adventure. But it just became quite clear that what we thought was a beautiful room in an extraordinary building overlooking a beautiful square was a restaurant and a hotel. And Rosewood was great. Qataris were fair, but it just wasn't for us.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
But also that answer reveals how careful you are about everything you do. I mean, in the last two answers you talked about the quality of the ingredients at the River Cafe, and there you've sort of let us into your very careful and considered thought-making process, your decision-making process. And I suppose that is a consistent thing about you, isn't it? That you do care.
Yeah.
And you think very carefully about everything and every detail and everything that happens.
We have a great team of people, and I'm confident that it rests on all of us of how we would control it. So, the little cafe is 6 feet away from the River Cafe, but we are in there all the time. We're concerned about whether, there's fluff on the carpet or whether glass has been cleaned or whether the windows you can see out to the river today, and if you can't, what we can do. We're concerned about the quality of the food. And I often think, well, if we were in Miami and say you were there and you walked in and you thought, maybe where are they? It's just some people can do that kind of lack of control or
care
or detail, and some can. I think John George is terrific at that. I went to his restaurant in Morocco, and it was great.
It was really good. A friend of mine, Nobus tend to be quite good, don't they? And there's lots of them around the world. And a friend of mine who's a really good restaurateur is a guy called Vinny, who has a place called
I know him, he's great.
I've brought him to the River Cafe several times.
He is divine. I saw him I was in New York, and I walked into Isodi, and he was sitting at the bar. It's just fabulous.
He's a wonderful guy, naturally cool, but he reminds me of you and Jeremy and all these people in that. And as I say, every time he comes to London, our families come to the River Cafe.
That's so nice.
But I was in LA the other day, and my son loves the mozzarella sticks that are on the menu.
Yeah.
And I just said to him, just tell me, they seem to be better than anyone else's. How do you do them? And the answer was 10 minutes. It was a 10-minute answer of how they make mozzarella sticks. So I was like, okay, that's why.
Yeah.
I didn't know there could be a 10-minute answer for making a mozzarella stick. And because you guys all care so much is really why they're good.
Yeah. I think that, for me, I'm particularly now, my life has changed with the death of my husband.
Yeah.
But I am in the River Cafe a lot. You know,
You
I'm
still
there
love
all
it?
the time. I'm there all the time. You know, it's stimulating, and why wouldn't you love it? You walk in and there are these great people working there, and they're all young and smart. And Ruthie, we have a problem. Ruthie, you know, can you come and taste this? Or Ruthie, you know, we have a stain on this new carpet and it's not working. Or somebody came in and they're tired and they should go home. All that, you know. So I think I have the best job in the world. And
Do you?
oh yeah, I
Great,
love it.
lovely.
I love it. And doing the podcast, we do offsites. We catered a dinner for Patrick Radcliffe the other day. And
You wrote a great book called Empire of Pain about
I
the
know,
Sackler family,
don't you
which I cannot recommend enough.
and this book, London Falling, it's a tragedy, and it's a
About the mystery death of a man who was passing himself off as being richer than he was.
Man being
isn't it?
19 years
Yeah.
old.
Yeah,
You know? And
fell off a balcony, I think.
Yeah. So I think we do so many projects, as you said, the 14 books, the coming of the River Cafe, working with
14
Damien.
books.
Well, we're pretty old, over 14,
Yeah.
over 40 years. And, you know, Damien Hirst is upstairs, and so we have his paintings. So it's a rich life. It's
non-stop relevant. I think the outgoing director general of the BBC, Tim Davie, he had his big leaving do there the other day, and it's all. Last time I was there with Sam Taylor Johnson and Aaron Taylor Johnson, who I'm friends with. Tom Ford was on the table behind us. Graydon Carter was on the table next to us. It is like it's a sort of Stella Street quality to it.
No, but it also is people. You know, I say to the waiters, you do not know. I say everybody has a story. You know, everybody has a story, and I think you do not know if those two people have saved up.
Yeah.
Maybe for months, maybe for the River Cafe, maybe for years, maybe for weeks to come here. You do not know if some friend of mine came in and said, Ruthie, I don't think I can sit down. You know, my kid's in rehab and it's been a bad day. And I said, you go to any table that looks like everything is just great for them. And their father might be ill, their kid might be in trouble, or they may be celebrating a graduation, joyous.
Yeah.
Why do people go to restaurants when they could eat at home? They want to be taken care of. They want to celebrate. They want to. There's so many reasons. So if you're a celebrity, if you're famous, that's one thing. But the people, I really care about the people who look like they've, come for some sort of reason.
Yeah.
And that's why I love my job. And if they say, there's a difficult table over there, I go, great, let me go find them. And it's because you want everybody to leave happier than they arrived. And that difficult table might have gotten lost on the way.
Yeah.
We've all had rows with our partners on the way to...
Especially getting to Hammersmith.
Especially getting to Hammersmith. We once had a woman who came and we said where she wanted a taxi. And we said, of course we'll get you a taxi. Where are you going? She said, London.
By the way, that's the other. It's a slightly smaller detail, but another reason that it's so impressive is it isn't that easy to get to.
No,
it's not even that near the tube.
It's getting easier, though.
Is
It's getting easier. Yeah, I think when we started in 1987, and a friend of mine from California who is he's pretty nerdy, and he said, "Let's just figure this out, Ruthie." So 40 years. You go, what would you say, twice a day? Let's say twice a day. Say 300 days a year. Anyway, 300 days a year from Chelsea to there. That would be, we figured it out, 22,000 times I've gone down the old Brompton Road to get to the River, or a year of my life. So
yeah.
It is, but it is, when we first started, it was far away. Now, I often go to restaurants, and I will correct you, we're not always full.
No,
we're not always hard to get into. We're always, we're not, because like any restaurant, it's, these times are hard. And, these are days when everybody's a bit uncertain. And so, I go to bed worried, I wake up worried.
Do you?
Yeah.
It's always hard running a restaurant, isn't it? It is in a way, listening to you talk about the happiness of customers and maybe they want a distraction from home. In some ways, it's a branch of entertainment. In some ways, it's a branch of theatre, isn't it?
Yes.
In some ways, it's like lots of little plays all
It
happening
is.
at once
Yeah.
in one room. Yeah. And you have your podcast and your new book. So the book is Table 4 at the River Cafe, which is based on your really successful podcast, Ruthie's Table 4.
Yeah.
It's 58 of those interviews put into a book. And you've hosted a podcast since lockdown. I guess in a way, running a restaurant really well is about being a good host, isn't it?
Yeah.
A huge
you have
part
to like
of it
people.
is that.
Basically, I think you really want to feel that people are important to you.
Yeah, okay.
And that you can say yes. To people I love, my first reaction is always to say yes.
And you're interested in people.
And we're interested. And that's the thing, whether it's a podcast in which you interview someone and you have a story, what is their story through the lens of food. So, we talk about, we should do one together. If I said to you, did your mother cook? Did you go to restaurants when you were a kid? Or did you only go for special occasions? When you left home, did you miss the food of, that your mom or dad cooked for you? Did you order out? And so when you talk to people who are in the book, and they're only, we've done something like 240, and the publisher,
Have you done 240?
Well, I guess if it's 5 seasons, and we do one a week.
Yeah, okay.
So 42 weeks. So, and then we do some bonus ones.
And then you have a set question, because I think Kirsty Young said to you, have one set question to give an identity, which I think is, what is your comfort food?
Well, yeah, the question I'm always asked by, journalists, what would be your last meal? And I hate that question, because I always think I'm sitting in a prison cell and I'm going to be hung or electrocuted.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
And I think I'd be so scared and so sad and so miserable.
I wouldn't be hungry. Just wouldn't be hungry, would you? You're about to be hung. What do you want to eat? Nothing.
It's like, maybe nothing. But the thing is that if you think that we all eat because we're hungry, or we eat because we want to show off our cooking skills, or basically because we love people and we want to do something for them, we also eat because sometimes we just need comfort.
What is your comfort food then?
I knew you were going to ask. Yeah. So I've always said that actually for me, I know that I've sought comfort in cooking tomatoes, because I love the way they go from juicy to thick, the way they smell, the basil, the garlic, and the olive oil. So, and there have been times in my life when I said, put on a tomato sauce, because I need to smell that cooking to know that life's going to be okay. But I would probably take it pasta with tomato sauce. Yeah, my tomato sauce, which we cook very carefully. And you have to use really good tomatoes.
Is there a definitive dish at the River Cafe? Someone said, I've never been, I'm going to go. Now, I know you change the menu a lot, so maybe that's not a fair question.
We do, yeah. It really depends. Dish? I think it really depends on the season.
Yeah, okay.
So in the winter, we love to make those kind of Italian Tuscan soups, and there's a salad called puntarelle, which comes from Rome, which is the base of the chicory root, and you slice it very thinly, and you add anchovy sauce to it. You find out in every restaurant in Rome in the winter. And then in the summer, we make pesto in a very different way, so that it's bright green and quite thin. And so, and then, in the autumn, we would have porcini mushrooms and a risotto, or we could have tortellini with pumpkin. You're getting hungry?
It's really making me want to go to the River Cafe now.
Yeah, right. Now we're doing a lot of asparagus. We're doing it with batarka butter or anchovy butter. We're doing, just peas are coming in now, so we're doing slow-cooked peas. And there's a very delicious, again, a Roman dish called vignole, which is a kind of marriage, getting together of artichokes, peas, broad beans, and you make it into a kind of stew, so it all kind of comes together.
You have such a lovely voice, actually. Don't ever look around the room, everyone's smiling, because you talk about comfort food. There's something very comforting about hearing you, Ruthie Rogers, the founder of the River Cafe, describe those ingredients with your lovely soft voice, wasn't it? It really, it genuinely made me hungry.
Somebody said to me once, I really love your podcast, Ruthie, because it gets me to sleep right away.
Whatever works. Me, that's all podcasts.
Don't you think? Do you listen to... The only thing is that I listen to so many political ones.
Yeah, me too.
That I just get really wound up.
Me too. Yes, that's true.
I listen to Pod Save America, or I listen to
John
Scott
Favreau.
Galloway, and and Kara Schwitzer, and then it's like...
all the same ones.
Yeah, we said the same ones, but they don't. But they actually do now make me fall asleep, even those, because I like hearing a voice.
Yeah, me too. But that is, listening to you talk about those dishes, to me that's like Paul McCartney's in here playing the guitar or the piano. That was like, it's just Ruthie talking about that food. It's like, I just thought, I'm not going to say, go as long as you like on that answer. I just want to hear you talk more about food.
Food is comfort, isn't it? Food is...
Yes, even talking about food is comforting.
And don't you think?
Yeah.
Very often you meet somebody who's come back from a trip to Madrid or to Paris or to Turkey or Uzbekistan, I don't know. And you'll say, you should say, did you go to the Prado? Did you see the Vermeers? Did you go to see the Pantheon? And then usually you say, where did you eat?
Yeah.
And because it tells you about a city, doesn't it? A good restaurant will make you think, what is this culture where I am? How do they serve the food? What is on the menu? Is it like Rome where you walk in and all the vegetables, peas are cooked in 4 different ways. They could be just boiled peas. They could be with little tiny onions and olive oil. They could be, as I was saying, with artichoke. So it tells you if you go to the market, do they shout? Do they not shout? Do the fish, does it just come from the lagoon as in Venice, or has it been brought in if you're in the mountains? So it tells you, food tells you.
Yeah, but on that point, when a friend goes to a city that I used to live in Los Angeles for a long time, I lived in New York for a while, is people ask me for restaurant recommendations, and they never, and I don't work in restaurants, but they never say, what are your museum recommendations? It is, you are more, I think you are more excited. If you go to Paris, New York, LA, you're always more excited by the restaurants. You go to the museums, they're good, but you're far more excited about where you're going to eat. And I took my family back to LA recently, and it was all just about going back to all the restaurants.
Where did you eat?
Well, John and Vinny's.
Yes. And then
I went to some classics. I mean, I went to there's a breakfast counter at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Do you know
Isn't that great?
Isn't it lovely?
I love that counter.
Does it smell nice?
I love it. It smells nice, and it's so small. And everybody's it's not very big.
No.
And you're on those stools. I love a counter. Do you like it?
Counter.
A bar.
I love a counter.
I love sitting at a bar and just having something to eat.
But that's theatre. We talk about theatre. I like sitting at a counter, and I prefer sitting at a counter because I like watching, whether it's a bartender or a chef at work.
I agree.
My friend Martin, who's got the Dover and the Dover Street,
yes,
literally the Dover
great.
Street counter.
He's just opened one in Sun Square.
Yeah, Martino's.
Yeah, it's really good. I went there the other day.
Lovely. He's so good at it, isn't he? But I just went to stand at the counter and watched people at work.
Yeah.
And that's comforting too.
I agree.
It's one, I absolutely love it. Yeah. In terms of success, Ruthie, there's a phrase there's a podcast I listen to about people who run businesses, and there's a phrase that really stood out to me, which is success and excellence is about the ability to endure pain, that to really get good at something over a long period of time. Do you think there's some truth to that?
Well, I probably would say I'm a bit concerned about that pain because at the River Cafe, we try. I mean, of course, there's anxiety. I said to my granddaughter the other day, she said, I have really stressful, she's very academic, stressful week ahead. And I said, maybe we should substitute stressful. Maybe we should substitute the word challenging. Because in a way, everything is stressful. It's so negative. And if you say challenging, it kind of maybe takes it a little bit out of that zone.
So it's a challenge to be overcome.
So I said, yeah, maybe, or to be worked. And so I said how was your day? And she said, challenging.
Yeah.
That was the same thing. So
it's framing it more positively.
I'd say that pain. I resist it slightly also because of the language of chefs and kitchens, which we've really tried to overcome, all of us, everyone, whether it's Wolfgang or Alice Walters or Jeremy. The idea that somehow restaurants are so difficult and so immediate, and there's a lot of, you don't have all day to think about getting that piece of steak out at the same time as a piece of fish, so it does cost. We have an open kitchen, so you have to behave yourself.
Is that why you have an open kitchen?
There are many reasons why. Rose and I started with an open kitchen.
He's your co-founder of the restaurant.
Who died in 2010. We both had homes that had open kitchens.
Right.
And so we wanted to create a restaurant that did. But we weren't the first. Alice Waters was doing. There were people who were doing that. We wanted to see that contact, and something that I could never work in a closed kitchen is that I love watching people eating our food. And I also really love when somebody comes up and said, "Oh, I had the chocolate nemesis. How did you make it?" Or, when you put it on the grill, or what is that? I like that. I like the contact. I like the contact with the waiters and the floor staff with the chef. So we're all in this together. They're waiting for their food. We need a bit more time to cook it or whatever that is. So we're all in this together. And I think that the bullying that was kind of became a cliche of working in a kitchen, of the temperamental chef is so old-fashioned now. We just, younger generation won't put up with it, and they shouldn't. And the food tastes better if you don't have that.
Unfortunately, it's how, if you watch dramas about restaurants like Boiling Point or The Bear, that's how they like to characterize it, isn't it?
Yeah. But, fair enough if you, if they want to do that. But I think one of the reasons chefs have become better, have worked harder, is through hope rather than fear.
That's a great line.
And there's no difference between being a journalist or being a doctor or being a lawyer or being a cab driver, is that, you can get better work out of people if you have a good attitude.
You're a very good podcast guest. I mean, you are. I know you host your own. Your podcast is Ruthie's Table 4, but actually, your answers are wonderful. I mean, the chefs get better through hope rather than fear. It's a fantastic line and observation. So many people have worked at your restaurant over those 39 years. I mean, Tish, who's sitting here, your brother Ollie worked. Ollie Jones worked at the River Cafe.
I didn't recognise you. How are you?
Tish's father, Nick Jones, is also very good at this game.
Tish's father, Nick Jones, has taught me more about not only restaurants, but being an employer, being a creator, being kind, he is so up there for me and always accessible. And so he just does, talk about values and morals and the way you do things correctly. That is Nick Jones. He's really incredible. And he's got the best kids.
I remember he once said to me, I always pick up the phone quicker to people who are in trouble than I do to people who are successful.
Yeah. And we've had exchanges where people have gone from the River Cafe to his restaurants, from his restaurants to ours, and he just does it he's correct,
He's got this wonderful new place that...
Yeah, I went to see it.
The Corner Shop. Oh, he's got opening a whole hotel.
The new one, the Corner Shop is great.
It's wonderful. It's just for anyone that doesn't know about it, it is just behind the Strand near Temple Station, and it's a sort of cafe come shop, isn't it? It's sort of mini supermarket and cafe. And I think there's a former River Cafe head chef working there as well.
Oh, yeah.
But
they're quite... Danny Bolin, who worked with us for 20 years, is going to do his restaurant there, and I'm so excited. Excited. It's brilliant.
Nicky's very kind with staff, isn't he? So is Martin, who we mentioned earlier. Do you, when you look at the people that have come through the River Cafe, Theo Randall, I mean, most famously, I would say Jamie Oliver. Yeah. And there was a TV show, wasn't there, about the River Cafe, and he was on camera. Someone offered him a job off the back of him featuring in it. Is that a really important thing for you? Is that... Yeah.
I mean, when people, you can see them almost coming towards you and say, Ruthie, we need to talk. I go, okay, when are you leaving? And then you always, because it is a big deal. But I think, if there's another great phrase, if you love them, let them go.
Great.
And I think, what you do is you say, can we help you? Do you, first of all, is there anything we can do to make you stay, but they're ready to go and they should go. And so you just want to make sure, I always say, I hope you'll keep cooking. You're not going to go into, laying tiles or, whatever. But, you could go, we have chefs who like Jamie or like Danny, Theo, April, who've gone to do incredibly beautiful, big, interesting restaurants. And we have some that are working in a small town in Australia, New Zealand, or the United States. Some are working on boats. Some are cooking for their kids. I think everybody does their own, and I'm just admire them for doing what they do. And I think what they've said to me sometimes is they take, I love the way they cook their own food. They're obviously, if they're going to make a nemesis, that's fine. Or they're going to anything they do is fine. But the ones I really respect are the ones that have created their own language, their own vision. But what I think they do is they take away what they've learned or they've contributed to the River Cafe. But more important or as important, I think, is the values we were just talking about. How will they treat their staff? How will they deal with somebody who is in trouble? How will they make sure they have diversity in the kitchen? How will they make sure that nobody does too many shifts and gets tired? How will they deal with, maternity pay? All those things, which, I think are really important.
Jamie Oliver's become an incredible communicator about food, hasn't he? Probably
Amazing.
the best.
Everything. And he's also, done so much work in terms of creating a fairer society through food.
Yes.
With his school lunches, with his school food.
We talk about success. This podcast is called Why Are You More Successful Than Me? You were on Jimmy Fallon's show a couple of weeks ago, and I was watching that this morning, and I was thinking, I can't think of any other restaurateur who would be a guest on that show. That is a high showbiz, very American television show, and you went on there, and that in itself is fascinating. That is a mark, I think, of what you've achieved. You seemed really relaxed, because I would assume it was quite intimidating. He was fanboying you far more than any of the,
Right.
film stars he has on there.
He was fine. No, I was nervous. I thought, oh my kids, I've done all these things. I've had awards, I've had Michelin stars, I've published books. When they heard that I was going on Jimmy Fallon, I felt like I finally arrived.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, you've done something. You can be proud. So it was a big deal. And then as the day approached, I felt, and they were really professional. They called me. They went through some of the questions. They did an interview before the interview, and then the way I kind of approached most of the things that I have to do is the day of, I just got rid of everyone around me, and I just sat in my room and read every page of my book and wrote questions and read the introduction. You work, you just prepare. I'm sure you do the same thing. Yeah. You just prepare. And so,
makes you more relaxed when you prepare.
Yeah, well, exactly. And then what happened was I got there, and the producer came in, and he'd already called me the day before with a guest going through things. And so they were very rigorous. And then I got there, and he came. They were so nice. And I had my dressing room, and he sat down, and he kind of interviewed me as Jimmy would. So there was a kind of
interesting.
And then I felt kind of calmer, and I was kind of Sting was there, and that was reassuring, and it was just, the whole atmosphere was great. And then I was getting nervous again, and then Jimmy came in, and he just came in. It was like the hug, and Ruthie, you're here, and he was just so kind and sweet. And then when I got on, and of course he didn't ask me one single question the interviewer had asked me, not one, And so, but what it did was, I think I just felt I can do this,
Good for you. I would say to anyone listening to this, if you go on YouTube and have a look at Ruthie Rogers on Jimmy Fallon's show, because it's really good. He's really good at it, actually, but he's a genuine passion for you and what you've done, and your cookbooks. And he's full of stories about being in the restaurants.
He loves food, and he loves restaurants. He loves people, but he was in the restaurant. He came to do Saturday Night Live UK, and so he came to the River Cafe. And
straight after that, did he? Yes.
Before. No, it was a day before, I think. And then it was, he came on the Friday night, and he was just, he was everywhere. He was in the kitchen. He was talking to the people. He was funny. He was charming. And you just knew that this is who he is,
I was thinking earlier that, you talk about, I think he says in the interview that Lorne Michaels introduced you to him. Yeah. I know that your book, Table 4 at the River Cafe, is the new book, and the podcast is Ruthie's Table 4, which is a play on a table for somebody, but also I think Table 4 was that Michael Caine's table.
Yeah, Michael used to sit there.
But Michael, you could write a story of showbiz from the last 40 years just through the people that have been through the doors of the River Cafe.
It is a place where, a lot of Michael people come, but I really also like to stress that, when anyone comes, they're really important to us, and the other day, actually, it goes back to another famous person, but I was having dinner there with some friends from New York, and we got a phone call that Martha Stewart was on the way in from the airport, and could she stop in? It was quite late, and she took that day flight from New York. And honestly, when I saw her, I was just so happy to see her. And it was interesting because she came and she sat down, and more people. It was like Madonna, the amount of people that came up to her table and just wanted to say hello. Because I just think that she's, had her ups and her downs and her ins and so it is a place where people can come for privacy. They can come and we don't know who they are. People come in that means something. The other day there was somebody who told me that it used to be parents, and now it's like grandparents. She was, had brought her here, and in 1990. So, I think it's generations, and so there's no such thing as important and unimportant.
This will make the world seem a bit small and a bit showbizy, but I had lunch with Cate Blanchett yesterday.
Did you? How is she?
She's great. She's preparing to play Martha Stewart.
Is she?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
It's quite interesting, isn't it?
That is interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Did you see the documentary about her?
About Martha?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet. I've actually been trying to write an unscripted TV show that I want Martha to be in. But is the documentary good?
She's good. Yeah, it is very good. Yeah.
I will definitely watch it. So the River Cafe opened, is it in 1987?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And your late husband, Richard Rogers, the incredible architect, you were essentially a cafe for his business, is that right?
Well, what happened was, I was a graphic designer. I was working in the office. We came back to London, and Richard really wanted to start a community. He didn't want to find a space in an office in the city or around in Soho, where we are now. As much as we're urbanists and love it, he wanted to have a place where there were other architects, other creatives, and so we found these warehouses. And of course, being Italian, being us, having lived in Paris and obsessed by food.
During the building of the Pompidou Centre.
Yes, and there had to be a place to eat. And so we put out applications for it, and I just literally was sitting, we were on a ski holiday. I said, the only thing worse than not having a place to be would to have a mediocre one. Maybe I'll do it. And I think I was at a point where I'd done the books, I'd done all that, and I loved to cook. And I thought maybe, and I knew that Rose Gray, who was an old friend of Richard's and of mine, had gone with the McNally brothers to open a restaurant in New York. And she was always, again, a home cook, but she learned.
As in Keith McNally?
Mm-hmm, yeah, Keith and Brian, Nels it was called. Yeah. And so I knew she was back. Anyway, to make a long story short, we decided to do it. And I think we would have always thought of it as a restaurant, as a proper place, but the Hammersmith Council said the rule was that we could only be open at lunchtime, and we could only be open to the people working in the warehouses. So what started came to be like a staff canteen, not by our ambition, but by the restrictions.
Yeah.
But restrictions, again, I believe really help you when you're starting out. So the fact that we had to be small for two women who'd never really done anything like this, it was a gift.
Yeah.
It was a struggling gift because we made no money.
You can't do with those restrictions.
No money, a small place with few people is not a business plan.
Yeah.
But we were competing against people who were selling not other restaurants, people selling sandwiches.
Right, okay.
So we started, and then we just grew and grew over the years with more space. We started out as a space probably the size of this.
It's a tiny podcast
studio that fits 5 of us, probably a bit bigger than this. But we had, and then more space became available, and then more, and then we grew to where.
Did Richard design it?
Yeah, he did. We did it for £30,000.
Huh?
We went to the Reject shop furniture, and we bought the Breuer chairs, and we bought Rose went up to the north of England and bought a second-hand grill, and it was just there was always the excellence of what the design would be, but it was very modest.
I remember a friend of mine saying, because Richard's design centre was there was a period when you could just walk past the doors and you could peer through the glass and you'd see scale models of these future buildings that were going to come, and it was really exciting because he designed the Pompidou Centre,
Terminal 5.
Terminal 5. I mean, wowza. Channel 4's headquarters, which is quite cool, which you've just gone up for sale, I think, haven't they?
I know.
Didn't he do the European Court of Human Rights or something like that?
Yes, you're good. You did do your research. In Strasbourg, yeah.
Is it for you, I don't know, when you walk through Terminal 5, is that an amazing thing?
It is.
Yeah,
we all love leaving from Terminal 5 in my family because it wasn't That's another long story, Terminal 5, because it was a competition. It took almost 20 years to go from the very winning the competition to building it, unlike Baracas Airport, which he was doing in Madrid, which was quite quick. This one there was planning, there was environment, there was the British Airways, anyway, the, the British... What was it called? The Airport Authority.
Yeah, right, okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that. And so I think, when he had felt mixed about some of the interiors and some of the way it was done. But I think it is a very beautiful building.
I think it's great.
You like it?
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. It was going to be that when you walked in, you could see from one end to the other. And, of course, there are a lot of shops and all that they put in. But, airports are so interesting, aren't they?
They're so interesting. I have no idea how they make them work. I mean, it's just absolutely... You put your bag in here and it snakes around and ends up on the right plane. But also, it's one of those first terminal, I thought, why would anyone go to one of those... You get those business class airport lounges. I thought the terminal's nicer than the lounges.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you know what? I don't think I'll get in trouble for saying this, but the whole thing is about shopping. A lot of it is about shopping. And so there was a sense that if you had too many seats, people would sit down and they wouldn't shop. If you had too many windows, people would look out the windows and they wouldn't shop. And if you had, so the idea is the shopping is a huge economic thing. But they managed to get the seats. They did have beautiful big windows where you could see outside.
They do. But what a wonderful thing when you're a successful architect, and I guess for you now, these permanent monuments to your husband's work that stand there. They don't really age, do they? You don't walk past the Pompidou Centre doesn't really age. Yeah. It's a really fascinating, exciting.
I used to say that my work of art his lasts for years and years and years, and mine gets eaten. What can you do?
Do you, with the River Cafe beyond your time, do you see that as an institution that will run and run?
Yeah, I hope. I mean, we have just a brilliant team.
Yeah. This is a quote so Rose, your co-founder, died in 2010. And he said, we got through the death of Rose, but it was really terrible. I missed her. I needed her. I loved her. She was a friend. And it was like being a single parent in the restaurant with about 100 children to take care of.
Yeah. It was, if we've had a fire, we've had COVID, we've had Brexit, we've had a lot of things, but nothing compares to the loss of Rose. But the greatest tribute to Rose could only be to make the restaurant better, to make it grow in not size, but to make it that her vision and our vision together stayed with us and grew.
Cool. Do you think the podcast helps the restaurant?
I think it probably does. There's a kind of circle, which is the restaurant, the podcast, the restaurant. The restaurant helps the podcast, the podcast, the restaurant. I think it is. I think when you do something you love, you want to communicate it, and that's what happened with COVID when we started it. Was that suddenly all the people that we're used to seeing every day and being in the restaurant, and I would say that if you ask me what makes a city great, I would say the parks, the hospitals, the schools, the opera, the theaters, people like yourself who come to live in a city. But I don't know that I would have named restaurants. But now, when we didn't have restaurants during COVID, when people came back, they cried. They were just so happy to be in a place that they might bump it. Why do we go to a restaurant? I interviewed the CEO of Uber the other day.
Oh, interesting.
He's a great person.
Yeah.
And he said, Ruthie, what we see right now with Uber is that we're bringing people to food, but, we're also going to be bringing food to people. And I thought, oh, no, there goes my restaurant. Nobody's going to eat out. Like we're all watching movies on our computers at home. Maybe this will happen with food. And then you go in there, as I was yesterday on a Sunday lunch, and, people see each other. They bump into each other. They see people they haven't seen for years, or they meet someone because their table is next to each other. And you see what happens in a restaurant.
I think it's what I said earlier about the little vignettes of plays happening everywhere. And I actually think what will happen, whether it's the rise of Deliveroo or Uber Eats, or whether it's the rise of AI, the best ones are going to become more important. And the best ones, like the restaurants that you do and Nick does and Jeremy King, all these people, there's a part of your DNA in them. There's something in them that is you can't quite explain, that is magic. And I think that and the importance of connecting with people over food, as you've often said, food is an expression of love. I just think it's going to become more important.
Do you? That's reassuring.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was ready to sort of think, oh no, it's all over.
I mean, I know nothing, but I do think that's true. I do think it's correct.
Yeah. I think.
Ruthie, thank you so much for your time. It's really wonderful
great.
to sit and
Thank
talk to you.
I loved
just
it.
sit and listen to you.
Let's do the reverse. Come and talk to me.
I'd love to do
nice.
that.
All of you, let's come in.
I'm going to have to get my answer to what's your favourite comfort food down to one thing.
Well, you know what? I always say that when people ask, I say, it can be, Michael Caine said, if you'd asked me 20 years ago, I would have said potatoes, and now I say caviar. But then Austin Butler, played Elvis, said his mother was dying of cancer, and he'd go home every day from school to have lunch with her and watch TV, and they'd have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And when he eats a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, it gives him comfort because he reminds of her, So I think it's a very personal thing.
There's a deep
But you better start thinking about it right now.
I will. Okay. Ruthie, that was really wonderful.
Thank you.
The podcast, of course, is Ruthie's Table for. Astonishing guest. I think you've got Kamala Harris coming up as well.
She came. She's great. Yeah, we loved her. She was. She loves food. When she lost the election, which is a really interesting, I think, question to ask somebody.
Very.
We all know what we do when we kind of lose, a job or a boyfriend or whatever. But imagine you thought you were going to be president. What do you do? And she said she watched cooking shows. So maybe she'll watch your documentaries as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. And of course, the book, which is a collection of those interviews, 58 of those interviews, distilled into a book, which is called Table 4 at the River Cafe. But that was joyful. And I think there's another quote that I use a lot, which is no time is wasted talking to somebody who's good at their job, which is very much the case with you. And in terms of answering the question, why are you more successful than me? I think it's what I like about these conversations is just listening to you. I get an insight into how you work and why you are so good at what you do and why you are more successful than me. So, Ruthie Rogers.
That brings, remember, I didn't say that. You said it.
No, still true. Ruthie Rogers, thank you.
Thank you.
Wasn't that lovely, everyone? What do you think? Well, that was Ruthie Rogers on Why Are You More Successful Than Me.
Just interesting. Let's just have a quick question here. What was the last thing you ate before you talked to the founder of the River Cafe?
I don't really have breakfast. I have this very boring this supplement called AG1, mix of vitamins and minerals. It's a gut health thing. You're not going to find that on the menu at the River Cafe.
What did you have yesterday?
I had an incredible meal cooked by this guy called Andrew, the husband of Cate, who I referenced in this podcast.
Yeah.
And he'd been to a new Italian restaurant in London. He copied the dish. He'd done handmade pasta with pesto that he made himself. And it was sensational. And I woke up thinking about it. And actually, it was so nice. I woke up this morning, I said to Rebecca Marf, I think I do need to start and cook properly.
Oh, 50. Gonna learn new tricks.
It's about time.
Yeah.
I spend so much time going to restaurants. What was your last thing?
I had a quarter pounder with cheese and large fries from a drive-through in Northolt.
Actually, do you know what? On the way home from Sussex last night, I did have a cheeseburger from McDonald's.
They're hard to beat.
It is. It may not be the right thing to say. I think McDonald's is quite a good restaurant.
I think it's a great restaurant. I mean, if you went to the River Cafe, it would be very much a treat. I personally would happily go to McDonald's every single meal.
But I really enjoyed Ruthie. I was slightly nervous interviewing her because the other people that we reference in there I know really well, and I actually don't. I've met her at the restaurant. That awful part of me wanted to impress her because she's so the host of London's. It's so the way it stays fresh and relevant is quite something, and it's such a treat to go there. But I thought that was wonderful. Well, she's a kind person. She obviously knows her way around podcasts. You could see that she knew where the edit points were.
You really could.
And as she left, she's like, if I can help you with your podcast. So she's just there's a kindness at her core. And maybe that's also why it's good. It's got such a legacy, why so many chefs came through it. She's obviously an empathetic, really, really decent.
She questioned the nature of what success is. And actually, you can see for her, success is being a positive influence, being kind, being nice, all those good things that a lot of inferior podcasts would never talk about.
True, Mark. Anyway, that was Ruthie Rogers. Next time, someone else.
Hope it's Ronald McDonald.